think one of the other interesting games and one of those Coach of the Year candidates is going to be Dolphins Browns. Dolphins are just doing some fun things, man. Like it just kind of every week. I feel like they are either like leading off 1st and 10 when I'm writing, or like they're the number 2 point, just because like there is something that happened in that game that like I really want to dive into and write about. And like that's where this offense is right now. It's so fun. Defense is a little bit of a concern. I think they're obviously not going to be facing Justin Fields every week. So like that's not a thing that you have to worry about in terms of a quarterback just running on you. So I'm interested, because when the Bears threw last week, Justin Fields only averaged 4.5 yards per attempt. So it wasn't like there were a couple of like the really good plays. He had obviously the touchdown to Mooney, the touchdown to Kmet, the couple of touchdowns to Kmet, but the first one was like a well-designed play, and all of that. So they had a couple, they had a couple of well-designed passing plays, but overall the passing game,
they had shots in the second half. Like they actually got some defensive stops in that game, and they couldn't pass their way back.
Yeah, it was just, it was one of those things where it just, they weren't able to, stop the run in a way. And it's just, I'm not sure if that is exactly how we should be judging what this Dolphins defense is going to be, although it hasn't been great throughout the season. But I think if you look at kind of what they're doing on the ground, they can kind of stop the run a little bit, but then you have the Browns who are just going to, run through everybody, and it doesn't really matter. They just great offensive line here that's been creating holes, and obviously when you have Nick Chubb, he's just good and running through. So like this game might be a little closer, but also the Browns defense still a concern, and they can't really stop anybody through the pass. Like this is another piece, especially in that secondary, that is just like not as good as the sum of the parts, right? Like these guys, Denzel Ward, you have Greg Newsome, like some of these guys are playing like individually well, and like I just kind of think like they are going to be put in like a complete blender with some of the things that the Dolphins are doing with Hill and Waddle, and Tua getting the ball out in the way he does. So this is going to be a fun matchup. And I think like could potentially, if we talk about like coaching and coaching advantages and disadvantages, like the biggest mismatch here is this Miami offensive coaching staff against the Browns defensive coaching staff.
Joe Barry. You look at Joe Barry, cover 3 base defense.
Joe Woods.
Oh, Joe Woods. I'm sorry, not
Barry
Joe Barry.
Is the Packers defense that's also underperforming.
Same tutelage almost. Sorry, Joe Woods. They are they're a base cover 3 defense. They are 7th NFL in cover 3, to the number 1 rated quarterback against cover 3 defense. The Dolphins are fun because they are an extremely flawed team, like all around. But if we could quote Jim Irsay, the quartile of players that they've got, this just 4-way marriage of Mike McDaniel, Tua, Tyreek Hill, and Jaylen Waddle are just carrying this team. Like it's so crazy. It's just so crazy because the defense is bad and underperforming. The pass rush is bad. They are okay at stopping the run. The offensive line, still isn't really that much better than like where we left off a year ago. The ancillary pass catchers aren't doing anything. They're using any of them. The run game isn't even good, right? Like the old like Shanahan run game, like that hasn't been good. It's just that the way they're using Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle has been so incredible, and like no one's been able to slow it down. They're fascinating to watch, man. It's amazing to watch this offense work because the ball's going to those 2 guys. Hell, they'll run the same play like 6 times in a row. They don't care. Because they're going to give you a look where it might be the same play, but you have to defend multiple points of the play. And if I forget who was breaking it down. Was it Dan Orlovsky? I can't remember a couple weeks ago, but it's like they're going to keep showing you the same look, and it's like, well, what element do you take away? And now Tua is starting to run a little bit more too. They're starting to incorporate that a little bit more. They're really fun to watch. I love watching the Dolphins because it's rational coaching, right? Like, how many times have we watched a team have good players and they can't get them the football? Like, it's not the case here. And it's crazy that this marriage of Patrick Mahomes leads the NFL in passing yardage without Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill leads the NFL in receiving yardage without Patrick Mahomes. Like, it's so crazy, man, to like put those things together. But yeah, I'm excited to watch this game because the Browns are one of these teams, like they can punch up. Like, they've shown that they'll punch up. They could have potentially beat the Ravens. We saw them just absolutely dog walk the Bengals the last time they were on the field. Like, the Browns beating the Dolphins, like, would not be like something that would give me any type of pause.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of depends on how I think that passing offense goes a little bit. Like, when Amari Cooper is going to have a monster game, which they can kind of pull out every couple of games.
Well, remember last time he faced Xavier Howard and they tried to put him on him. It did not go well.
Yeah.
And and that's the thing too, is if Miami, because their defense has been so bad that they've just been, they're like an empty blitz team, an empty calorie blitz team.
Yep.
Where they don't get home on blitzes and they get crushed on the back end.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where I think once you get, Bradley Chubb in there a little more, they can hopefully rush for a little more often, be more productive while rushing for. I think that's, obviously like the plan eventually. How that goes against, a Browns team that's going to be trying to run, as much as they can. There's not going to be a lot of straight dropbacks in this game from Jacoby Brissett, right? So we'll see. This is an interesting mix of styles and interesting mix of strengths and weaknesses in this game. And I think it's going to be fun.